I didn't hear the slap, I felt it. A sharp sting across my cheek, so sudden and hot it made my eyes blur. I hadn't been hit. No. What struck me was the sound of my former coworker's voice, slicing through the hospital corridor like a scalpel dipped in ice. God, she still walks around like she's relevant, Marla whispered loudly to the others. 60 years old and acting like she's some Florence Nightingale. A few of them laughed. One snorted. Another muttered, old habits die hard. Or maybe they just refused to die at all. Their voices hit me with the force of a blow I never saw coming. I stopped walking, fingers tightening around the folder I carried. A folder they didn't know existed. A folder I had spent months digging through storage boxes to reconstruct. A folder containing the very secrets they had buried together 10 years ago. But that wasn't the betrayal that made my heart twist. Not tonight. Tonight, the betrayal was watching people I once called family, people I covered weekend shifts for, cried with in supply rooms and defended during audits, look at me like I was a joke. And the worst part? I still cared what they thought. Maybe that was my flaw. Maybe that was always my flaw. I forced myself forward, swallowing the burn in my throat as the hallway lights flickered overhead, humming with that constant, low electric buzz I had listened to for 35 years of my life. I had returned to this hospital for one reason, to confront what I had discovered. And deep down I was terrified, not of them, but of what this confrontation would demand of me, of what truths I'd have to admit. I was never good at facing the truth when emotions were involved, especially betrayal. Elaine. I turned. It was Daniel, head nurse, once my closest friend. He looked older than I remembered, softer around the jaw, grayer at the temples. Or maybe I had grown harder, sharper, more observant without the distraction of trying to please everyone. You came, he said, voice caught between relief and something heavier. Yes, I replied. My voice sounded steady, but my heart wasn't. I needed to. His gaze flicked to the folder in my hand. He didn't recognize it. Good. That meant fear hadn't spread among them yet. Listen, he said gently, stepping closer. I know some of the others can be insensitive. Insensitive? I echoed, my lips twisting. That wasn't the word he wanted to use. He knew exactly who they were and what they were capable of. He reached for my arm, hesitated, then pulled his hand back. You don't have to deal with them. Just talk to me. Tell me why you're really here. I did want to tell him, God, how badly I wanted to share the weight of what I'd found. But trust was not something I had access to anymore. Not after the betrayal. Not after the night that ruined everything. The night they lied. The night that patient died. The night we were told to forget. Walk with me, I said, surprising us both. We moved down the hall, past the same lockers I once used, the same bulletin board where my name had hung on Employee of the Month placards more times than I ever bragged about. I used to think this place was my purpose. A calling. A home. Funny how betrayal can turn a home into a graveyard. When we reached the empty staff lounge, I closed the door behind us. The click echoed like a gun cocking. Daniel frowned. Elaine, what's going on? You remember the Delaney case, I said. His face changed instantly. The color drained. His eyes darted to the door, then back to me. Why are you bringing that up? Because I found the original reports, I said quietly. The ones we were told got lost. For a moment, the only sound was the old refrigerator humming in the corner. Then Daniel exhaled slowly, shoulders slumping as if I'd knocked the wind out of him. Elaine, we agreed to let it go. We made peace with it. No, I said, shaking my head. You made peace with it. I tried to. But I couldn't sleep. I couldn't think. I kept replaying that night. He pressed his palms to his face. There's nothing you can prove now. You know that. That's where you're wrong. I set the folder on the table between us. My fingers trembled, not from fear, but from finally releasing what I had carried alone. Before he could speak, I continued. I thought I was losing my mind these past few months. I kept remembering details that didn't line up. Things you said that night. Things Marla tried to hide. Things the supervisor claimed weren't documented. And then I found the archived logs. Not the altered ones, the originals. You shouldn't have looked, he whispered. I know. Then why did you? I closed my eyes, inhaling sharply. I had avoided this truth for years, buried it under excuses, justifications, and misplaced loyalty. Because the betrayal wasn't the malpractice, I said. It was what all of you did afterward. How you left me believing I was the weak link. The one who made the error. The one who misremembered. The one who ruined everything. He took a step toward me. We were trying to protect you. That's not protection, I said, voice cracking. That's manipulation. Silence again. Heavy. Suffocating. Sticky like humidity before a storm breaks open. Daniel sank into the nearest chair. For the first time he looked small. Human. Guilty. Elaine, he said. You don't understand the pressure we were under. The board was breathing down our necks. The family was ready to sue. The hospital needed someone to take responsibility. And you chose me, I whispered. His jaw tightened. No, it wasn't like that. But we both knew it was exactly like that. You were retiring soon, he continued, words spilling out in a frantic attempt to justify the unforgivable. We thought if your record took a minor hit, it wouldn't destroy your future. It wouldn't matter as much as it would for one of us. We thought we were making the practical choice. I stared at him. For a moment, I saw the Daniel I once trusted. The man who brought donuts on night shift, who cried when patients died, who hugged me when my husband left. But then I saw the cracks. The fear. The selfishness. The betrayal. I had been convenient. That was the truth he wasn't saying. You think that makes it better? I asked. No. But it's the truth. The truth. At last. It didn't feel satisfying. It felt like swallowing a stone. Why didn't you ever tell me? I asked softly. Because you would have left, he replied. And we needed you more than you realized. A bitter laugh escaped me. So you kept me by lying? Yes. He didn't sugarcoat it. We lied. My chest tightened. I wasn't prepared for the honesty. I wasn't prepared for the grief that followed it. Not grief for the patient, not anymore. This was grief for the relationship I thought I had. The loyalty I believed in. The people I trusted. The betrayal wasn't in their actions that night. It was in the years that followed. Daniel rubbed his temples. So what now? You're back. You have the documents. What are you planning to do? I looked down at my hands. They were steady now. Completely steady. I don't know yet, I said. But I know one thing. I won't protect you anymore. His eyes widened, not with anger but with fear. Real fear. And for the first time I felt something close to power. Something like justice. Or maybe vengeance. Maybe both. I picked up the folder, hugged it to my chest and walked toward the door. His voice shook as he called after me. Elaine, please. Don't ruin us. I paused. Not because his plea moved me but because of the irony in his words. They had ruined me years ago. And now? Now the truth was going to ruin them. I didn't answer him. I didn't need to. Because the moment I opened that door, every step I took was a step toward the reckoning they had avoided for a decade. And I wasn't going to stop. I left Daniel in the staff lounge, the weight of his guilt lingering behind me like a storm cloud waiting to burst. The hallway felt colder now, sharper, as if the walls themselves sensed what I carried. The folder pressed against my ribs with every step. Proof. Truth. Betrayal documented. I had thought returning here would feel nostalgic or comforting or even terrifying. But it didn't. It felt necessary. Like closing a wound that had been bleeding internally for too long. As I turned the corner, the laughter reached me again. Marla and the others were still gathered near the nurse's station. Their voices bright, careless, dripping with the arrogance of people who believed their past would stay buried forever. They didn't see me at first. But when they finally did, their expressions shifted quickly, deeply. First disdain, then suspicion, and then something else. Recognition of danger. Back again, Marla said, her smirk stretching unnaturally. Forget your knitting needles? I didn't bother responding. Her attempt at humor bounced off me like a pebble against steel. But when her eyes fell to the folder tucked under my arm, her smirk faltered. Elaine, she said, voice tightening. What is that? Before I could answer, Dr. Reese walked up. Sleek suit, expensive watch, smile practiced enough to fool anyone who hadn't known him as long as I had. He had been the attending physician the night the Delaney patient died. He had also been the one with the most to lose. Ah, he said, placing a hand on Marla's shoulder. The prodigal nurse returns. His smile was warm. His eyes were not. What brings you here after all this time? He asked. Closure, I said. He waited for the rest. When it didn't come, he gestured toward his office. Let's talk inside. I hesitated. Everything in me screamed that stepping into his office again was a mistake. He was too controlled, too smooth, too good at twisting realities until you questioned your own. But I needed to hear him lie. I needed to hear him deny what he already knew. Or admit it with the arrogance of a man who believed the system would always protect him. So I followed him. Inside, the office was exactly as I remembered. Minimalist, spotless, smelling faintly of cologne and antiseptic. But now it felt claustrophobic. Dangerous. He closed the door softly, then walked around his desk. You've caused quite a stir today, he said. The staff seems unsettled. I'm not here for them, I replied. Then for whom? I set the folder on his desk. He didn't touch it. But his jaw flexed ever so slightly. Interesting. What is this? He asked, knowing perfectly well. The original logs, I said. From the Delaney night. He leaned back in his chair, folding his hands. I see. That was all? No surprise, no questions, no accusations? Just I see? It made my heartbeat quicken in a way that felt both empowering and terrifying. You altered them, I said. All of you. You erased your orders. Your mistakes. Your role in what happened. And you let them blame me. Elaine, he said calmly. The patient was going to die regardless of who charted what. You know that. That's not the point. Then what is? That you betrayed me. His expression softened, not with kindness but with calculation. We didn't betray you. We protected the hospital. We protected careers. We protected stability. You protected yourselves, I said. At my expense. He sighed as if I were being dramatic. You were retiring soon. You had nothing to lose. That wasn't your decision to make. Someone had to make it. The arrogance in his tone sliced through me. My hands curled into fists. Not in anger but in clarity. Do you know what it did to me? I asked. Being painted as incompetent? Knowing whispers followed me everywhere? Knowing I doubted myself every single night for years? His silence was answer enough. You let me believe I made that mistake, I said. You let me carry it alone. You let it poison my confidence. My career. Your career was already ending, he replied. The cruelty of it hit me like a fist. He wasn't trying to comfort me. He wasn't trying to defend himself. He truly believed what he was saying. I opened the folder. Pages fanned out, the real timestamps, the documented orders he had given and then deleted, the notes Marla had been ordered to rewrite, the entries removed entirely. He looked at them just once before his expression hardened. Where did you get these? He asked quietly. The archive room, I said. Nothing that happens in this hospital truly disappears. He nodded slowly, the gears turning behind his eyes. You shouldn't have taken them. I shouldn't have been lied to. He stood abruptly. What are you planning to do with this? The question wasn't casual. It was a warning. I don't know yet, I said honestly. But I know what you're planning. And what's that? To silence me. The flicker in his eyes confirmed it. He exhaled, tension coiling in his shoulders. Elaine, let this go. You don't want to drag this hospital through another scandal. You don't want me to, I corrected. There's a difference. For the first time, his composure cracked. Do you think anyone will care? He asked. It's been 10 years. Records get lost. Memories blur. Nurses come and go. You think you can walk in here with papers and suddenly rewrite history? No, I said. But I can expose it. And what then? He stepped closer. What do you gain? Revenge? Vindication? Your reputation won't magically restore itself. The world doesn't care about the truth. They care about what's convenient. I care about the truth, I said softly. And that's enough. His voice dropped. Elaine, you don't want to start a war you can't win. I met his gaze without flinching. You already started it. Before he could reply, a knock came at the door. It opened before he allowed it. Daniel entered, eyes wide, face pale. "Elaine," he said. "Please. Don't do this." "Do what?" Dr. Reese asked sharply. Daniel swallowed hard. "She's going to the board." The silence that followed was suffocating. The air thickened. Reese turned back to me, any pretense of cordiality gone. His voice was ice. "If you do this, you will destroy your own reputation. Do you understand that? You will be painted as a disgruntled retiree with a vendetta. You'll be called vindictive. Delusional." I thought about that. I thought about it deeply. And then I spoke the truth I had been resisting for years. I'd rather be called vindictive for telling the truth than be remembered as complicit in a lie. Daniel flinched. Reese's expression chilled into something unreadable. "You're making a mistake," Reese said. "No," I replied. "I made my mistake 10 years ago when I trusted all of you." I gathered the documents, tucked them neatly back into the folder, and headed for the door. Reese blocked my path. Daniel stepped between us. "Let her go," he whispered. Reese hesitated. And in that hesitation everything shifted. I walked past them both, my steps steady, the hallway stretching long and cold ahead of me. Every pair of eyes watched me. Some curious. Some nervous. Some guilty. Marla stood frozen near the nurse's station, color draining as she saw the folder in my hands. Her lips parted but no sound came. For the first time in a decade they feared me. And somehow that fear didn't comfort me, it broke me. Because once they had trusted me. Once they had loved me. Once they had been my family. And now? Now I was their reckoning. I reached the double doors leading to administration. My hand hovered on the metal bar. Then in a moment I didn't expect, grief washed over me, thick, heavy, suffocating. Not for what happened, but for what could never be undone. I wasn't just exposing malpractice. I was ending relationships, burning bridges, shattering illusions I had clung to for too long. A hot tear escaped before I could stop it. Then I pushed the door open. The truth was coming. And with it, the end of every lie they had built their careers on. But as my footsteps echoed through the administrative wing, one realization cut deeper than all the rest. This wasn't revenge. This was liberation. And I was finally free.